Hello, everyone. So I've been hearing a lot of talk lately. People claiming that we're in the tribulation period already. Um, I think we need to question that, and we need to take a look at it. Um, is it true? I won't claim to know one way or the other, for who knows the ways of God. However, we need to take a look at the reasons behind these claims and how they fit with what the Bible has to say about the tribulation period and its components. The reason that I have heard to justify these claims fall into six main categories. There's the China virus or COVID-19, the famine around the world, social division, the World Economic Forum, weather systems and war. And we have to look at, do these claims have biblical backing? So why don't we just take a look at that? The pandemic of COVID-19 or the China virus, as well as famine. Jesus does mention famine in Matthew 24, verse 7, where it says, "Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places." And he is talking about the tribulation period here. He also refers to it through John in Revelation 6, 5 to 8. "When the Lamb opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, 'Come.' I looked, and there before me was a black horse. Its rider was holding a pair of scales in his hand. Then I heard what sounded like a voice among four living creatures saying, 'A quart of wheat for a day's wages, and 3 quarts of barley for a day's wages, and do not damage the oil and the wine.'" So as you see in these verses, during the tribulation period, we're seeing famine and plague mentioned throughout this. However, together they will claim over a fourth of the Earth's population through death. I do not think that COVID has fit this description. I think that when the famine and plague of the third and fourth seal hits, we will see death on a much larger scale. This really seems to be possibly not far off. And I say this because we see the rising cost of gas combined with the talk that all the things that farmers need to plant and maintain crops, those costs are skyrocketing. This may ultimately lead to wheat and other food being priced out of most people's ability to pay, which, as it says in here, will cost a day's wages, which may cause famine and the weakening of people's immune systems and of people's bodies, allowing massive plagues to kill billions of people, as mentioned in Revelation. We would be looking at probably around that 1.5 billion people, according to how many people we have on the earth. It could even be higher than that, up to 2 billion people. Social division is one thing we also see breaking apart our countries throughout the world right now. Satan is using it to even divide our Christian community and breaking apart churches, as I've mentioned in a previous podcast. We are inundated with social values that are blatantly not Christian in movies, TV, schools, universities, advertising, workplaces, government policies, and pretty much everywhere that we look these days. Those in opposition and who dares speak out are outcasts, worthy of shunning and censorship, which we see happening more and more, predominantly through social media. I myself have been banned from Twitter for not holding to these views. This would be the false prophets and teachings that more and more we're seeing happening, and seeing it pop up. And Jesus mentions these false prophets in Matthew 24, verses 4 and 5. He says, Jesus answered, "Watch out that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name, claiming, I am the Christ, and will deceive many. You, and then he goes on to the war and famine and all that being mentioned in that same grouping of verses there. So we haven't seen people directly saying that they are Christ, but he's meaning that people are going to come in his name, saying that this is the way that the world should be going, and it's awful to see. And we do see that's starting to happen more and more. It's been happening for quite a while. I mean, we saw the false prophets even during the Middle Ages with the Roman Catholic Church, taking place and taking Jesus' name to do terrible things. And I think we're going to see that again when the actual tribulation hits. So we see a little bit of it happening right now. They're going to lead many astray. We see it in the clash between various parts of countries. So like the US is very, very divided right now. Canada is very divided right now. Just as two North American examples. I'm sure wherever you are, you can see it yourself in your own countries. As well as between the government and its people, as we have seen again in the US and Canada. UK saw a lot of this during COVID, Australia, and many other places throughout the world. I don't think that this has yet brought in the tribulation period. I think it's only leading into the days before the rapture of the church and the opening of the possibility for the tribulation to begin. As I said before, I think when the tribulation begins, this is going to be on a grander, more open and overt scale. As for the World Economic Forum, well, this is a group of power-hungry oligarchs, and they're only a tool for prophecy to come true. Something that they don't see that as themselves, that they are tools themselves. They believe that they can manipulate world leaders, whom are for the most part a bunch of mindless puppets, and believe that they can guide them into ruining everything our society holds dear, and go by the global reset that everybody talks about right now, and how you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. We see that coming to fruition a little bit more. However, they themselves are simply tools being used to bring about the fulfillment of prophecy, not a sign of currently being in the tribulation period. We'll look at this a little bit further in the next topic here, where we will look at war. We have had war and major wars that consumed the globe many times since Revelation was written. And they saw it many times for many, many centuries and millennia before that even happened. None of these brought in the end times. Now we see war between Russia and Ukraine, which is definitely increasing tensions between many countries of the world. And this war is a fulfillment of prophecy, in the matter that it is leading to the formation of the two powers that we're going to see take control in the coming in of the tribulation period. Possibly the EU being one, and Russia's alliance being the other, with China and whoever else decides they're going to be in with Russia. Those are just two possible examples. I'm not saying those are the exact two, just two possible ones to think about. This does not mean that at this point it will necessarily lead to a global conflict. It has the potential to, but not necessarily going to. And this is seen in the fourth or final empire of Daniel's statue in Daniel chapter 2, as well as the fourth beast of Daniel's dream in Daniel 7, which is all referred to again in Revelation 13 when John mentions a world dictator and the Antichrist. It is simply leading towards that prophecy fulfillment, which will ultimately lead up to what we see talked about in Revelation 6, verses 1 to 4. As I watched as the Lamb opened the first of the seven seals. Then I heard one of the four living creatures say in a voice like thunder, "Come." I looked, and there before me was a white horse. Its rider held a bow, and he was given a crown, and he rode out as the conqueror bent on conquest. When the Lamb opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature say, "Come." Then another horse came out, a fiery red one. Its rider was given power to take peace from the earth, and to make men slay each other. To him was given a large sword. The first two seals are opened, and conquest and war are released. Man will try to conquer and slaughter much of the earth's population. Jesus also speaks to this in Matthew 24, 6-7, which we kind of touched on and read before, where it says, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom." So this will all end up leading to the one world government and religion, which will be led by the Antichrist and his false prophets. We have not yet seen the rise of the Antichrist. This will happen at the start of the tribulation period, nor have we seen the two witnesses who appear at the same time in Revelation 11, which will be there. They will be there for the first 3.5 years of the tribulation period. Whether it's a literal two witnesses or a symbolic two witnesses, which could symbolize the rise of testifying believers, that we don't know. Something else that I have heard mentioned is the weird weather cycles that we are seeing. The Bible mentions specifically earthquakes being used, and we have not seen earthquakes yet that fit Jesus' description in Matthew 24, nor the description in Revelation chapter 6, verses 12-14. I watched as he opened the sixth seal. There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of goat hair, and the whole moon turned blood red, and the stars in the sky fell to the earth, and as the late figs drop from the fig tree when shaken by a strong wind. The sky receded like a scroll rolling up, and every mountain and island was removed from its place. Clearly, we have not had an earthquake to that scale, as is mentioned, and it does seem like there would be a series of earthquakes, and we have not seen that. But weather cycles and tension between tectonic plates are building up. Science has shown the tectonic plates, that they're building up towards a big earthquake, which we all know what that big earthquake is going to be when that ultimately does happen. It's going to reshape the earth like the flood did, and they're building up to allowing this series of earthquakes to take place, and this happens during the tribulation period, not before the tribulation. The main reason I do not feel that we are in the tribulation period, and only in a period that is leading up to the tribulation, which I really don't think is very far off. I think it's coming a lot quicker than what people may think. And Revelation 3:10 kind of brings home why I really don't think it's there yet. It says, "Since you have kept my command to endure patiently, I will also keep you from the hour of trial that is going to come upon the whole world to test those who live on earth." So this makes it seem as if we, the Christian church, those who have accepted Jesus Christ as their Savior and believe that He rose from the dead just 3 days after being crucified, are to be taken up before the tribulation period begins, which is why I hold to the pre-tribulation rapture stance. Hence, the events we are seeing in the world today, which are very disturbing, are assisting to the fulfillment of prophecy and allowing the formation of the world to the alignment it must be in for the tribulation or end times to begin. We must stand strong and spread the gospel to the world and follow God's command in Matthew 28:19-20, which most of you know, but I will read anyway. "Therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always, and to the very end of the age."